This meeting is being recorded. Hey, everybody. Jordan Adler here, coming to you from the mountains of Arizona. Welcome to the Beach Money Podcast, where we interview entrepreneurs that are building a beach money life, because who doesn't want beach money, right, Seth?
Oh, yeah. I love beach money.
I have Seth Grabel with me. Seth is a very close friend. We've known each other for probably, has it been 10 years, Seth?
It's been at least 10 years, Jordan.
About
Yeah.
10 years. We'll talk a little bit about how we met, but Seth is a magician. He's a real estate investor, commercial real estate investor. He's also a real estate broker, commercial broker, and he's known for his acrobatic magic style, which combines acrobatics with illusions. He's got quite a story. He gained recognition through appearances on shows like America's Got Talent, Penn and Teller, Fool Us, and Millionaire Matchmaker. Growing
Oh,
up
yeah.
in Los Angeles, your dad was a magician.
Yeah, he was. He was a magician and he still practices magic.
I did not even know that. And he's also a commercial real estate developer.
Mhm.
I guess your dad was a magician since he was young, at a young age. And I want to hear the
Yeah.
story. And
Cool.
Seth also has a degree from the University of Nevada and been involved with the UNLV Real Estate Business Society at the university. So, Seth, thanks for joining. It's great to see you. Always my old friend. And let's talk beach money. First of all, I would love to hear just a little bit about your story, how you got to be a magician and a commercial real estate broker at the same time.
Yeah,
How's that?
yeah, that's a fun combination. I gotta tell you, it's a fun combination. I get the best of both worlds. I get the business side and the fun magic side. I started off I went to UNLV. So I went to UNLV for hotel management school, believe it or not. And at UNLV, I started studying real estate. And I was going to this thing called REB, Real Estate Business Society, and that's where I actually became the president of the Real Estate Business Society on campus at UNLV. Now, the cool thing about that is I was partnered with someone named Deborah March, who is the former mayor of Henderson. And so she was my mentor, and she kind of showed me the ropes throughout that process. And what I would do is I'd go into the field and I would get a speaker, so a professional real estate guru or someone that knew all about real estate. I would get them to speak to the students. And the way I would get the students to show up, I would show up at someone's class, 5 minutes before class. I would say, hey, teacher, can I give them a pitch for my club? And they usually said, sure, go for it. So I would get up there and say, guys, you got to show up to my club. You're going to meet someone that you've never met before. It's a fantastic opportunity to create a relationship in real estate. I had a whole pitch. But what was cool is, so I learned, a lot about real estate at that point with, being part of the Real Estate Business Society, being the president of the Real Estate Business Society. But I went to school for hotel management. So I was kind of like doing hotel management studies. I was involved in real estate. And of course, my father is in real estate. So I learned a lot from him. But then I met a guy named Amazing Jonathan.
The amazing Jonathan. He's a famous dude in Las Vegas.
Yes, yeah, Jonathan is famous guy for a long time, and he passed away, a couple years ago. But he was a fantastic friend of mine and just the most loving guy. I was hanging out with him. I would hang out with him after shows, late at night. I would hang out with him, between like 12 midnight to 4 a.m., 5 a.m. sometimes. And I would be in his warehouse. We would just be making magic props and doing, I'd help him out with whatever. We need to clean up his warehouse. I'd be helping him out and doing stuff. We'd go dumpster diving for props. And so oh my God, it was such a crazy time in my life with Jonathan. And one day he goes, Seth, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to, and I said, I'd like to be a magician. And he goes, well, why don't you open up for me? And I go, oh, yeah, sure. So I spent about 5 years opening up for Jonathan,
Where?
off and on. He performed at the Sahara. I performed with him at the Harmon Theater, which was the Harmon Theater, which was attached to Planet Hollywood.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. I mean, Jonathan was crazy. He said, Seth, I don't care what you can do, just try stuff. Just try stuff. So he really gave me a stage and an opportunity to be bad. And most magicians don't do that. They don't give a younger guy a chance. They don't say, look, you're gonna get on stage and fail, but you kind of need that to learn how to be good.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
you've like done so much. When I look at your career, you've done so much show business. I just want to know how first of all, how did you get on Millionaire Matchmaker? How'd that happen?
that was a funny story. So Millionaire Matchmaker was a really fun show that I was on. I love reality TV. They used to call it reality, but now it's called unscripted TV. So I love being on that stuff. I did America's Got Talent, Millionaire Matchmaker, and Hell's Kitchen, all kinds of TV stuff. So I was hanging out with this guy named Erwin Garner, and I was hanging out with him, and I got friendly with him. I have no idea where this guy is now, but long story short, he knew a casting director that then called me randomly and was like, "I heard you're doing well. I heard you became a millionaire. I'd like you to audition for the show." And I go, "What? Okay." I had no idea. I've never watched the show. I didn't know what it was about. But I watched one episode and I go, "Oh my God, I get to meet beautiful women and go on this show. I'm in." I was like,
And
it
of
was
course,
like 20 years old.
this was before you were married, I would take it.
This was before I was married, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. But I was like, I was in my 20s and I thought, wow, fantastic. Sign me up. This is the best thing since sliced bread, And when I got on the show, literally it was like that. They literally marched like, 30 girls out at a pool and said, pick one. I was like, what? What is this? So I mean, I had so much fun on that
And then
show.
I
And
saw you were like going on dates on the show and you were doing magic while you were
yeah,
at lunch or dinner or whatever, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm always trying to promote and bring magic into it. So that was the shtick. That was the thing. I was hey, I'm a magician. Watch this.
Yeah.
And I did magic. I took Kate, who was my date, to the foundation room in California, in Beverly, in what's it called, Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so we did a skydiving date, and then we ended up having dinner at that foundation room in Hollywood. It was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's a
that's
good.
foundation room is kind of it's where we met, but we met at the one at the top of the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
A close friend of both of ours, invited me out to a magic show, at midnight. It was a midnight show at the foundation room at the Mandalay Bay. And we went up there and you were the magician. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this guy kind of reminds me of me a little bit, only younger, and afterwards, Bob introduced me to you. And that was on so many levels, that was a really great night. I met
Mhm.
some really great people, including yourself, that we became very close friends over the years. And
Yeah.
I saw you on Penn and Teller on that, where the big we're going to talk Beach Bunny here in a minute, but where you had this big dinosaur. What was that thing called?
Oh, Robosaurus. Oh my God, that
Bulbasaurus.
was a crazy thing.
This giant fabricated metal, kind of a Burning Man style robot picks up a Seth gets all straitjacketed up and put into a police car, and then this robot picks up this police car and then drops it and
Yeah.
says, and then yeah,
My escape. You know what's funny about that trick? So my whole thing, my whole life is how do I utilize things in my life that I know of? For example, I knew of Robosaurus, and I actually happened to have a contact and the owner of Robosaurus. I knew him, and I thought it'd be cool to utilize him in a big stunt, like a big, huge stunt.
it was a
So
production. That was a
it was
production
it
magic.
was,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it was. And the funny thing is, what did it do for me at the end of the day? I don't even know. It was just fun, right? It was just
It's
a fun
it's
thing.
good exposure. It's kind of like your brand. I have a question regarding that. So you're a
Yeah.
commercial real estate guy, and you're also a magician. Is there an overlap at all, or is it just two separate things in your life?
Well, there's a bit of an overlap. It's not a huge overlap, but the overlap is simply this. I go perform for people that hire me and they have money. And so typically anyone that has money knows commercial real estate is a good investment avenue, and they usually either have it, they want to get into it, or they understand some sort of idea of, going into the business. And so that's how it overlaps. It's really all about, for me, it's creating relationships and building friendships and building, successful relationships at the end of the day.
Have you found through any of the magic that you do that the relationships that you've built through your magic shows have turned into something from that
Yes,
real estate deals?
yes.
Yeah.
Some of my number one, I have a really solid amount of clients that I met from magic.
Oh,
So they,
so
yeah, they
that's
hired
great
me for
door.
magic fees. What's that?
Great door opener for you then.
Oh yeah, it's a phenomenal door opener. They'll hire me for magic shows, and then I make friends with them, and then one thing leads to another. We're doing a real estate transaction.
And I imagine it works the other way around too. You've probably sold some real estate that has turned into magic shows.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good fit for me because it's who I am. I mean, I don't know. I just felt I don't even know how this happened, honestly. Like it's my perfect dynamic because
Yeah.
magic is my love. I love doing it. I love performing, and real estate really is a wealth creator.
Curious,
It's
do you have anything there? We didn't plan this. I didn't even think of it until just
oh boy.
you have anything within arm's reach or no?
Well, I always keep my ear on me, and this is what you do. You find the hole in your ear, and you just stick it in there, right? Stick it in the hole.
Okay. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's not like on the level of the production magic
No.
acrobatics you do, but you probably wouldn't have done that one on America's Got Talent. But
No, but it's funny. That's how I check out at a grocery store.
okay, let's talk about beach money. First of all, what does beach money mean to you?
Man, beach money. Well, first of all, beach money is Jordan Adler, which I've known you for a long time now, and we've become good friends. And I've just seen how you progress and lit people up, and really light fire under people's behinds to get things done, which is fantastic. Um, and I just think, when you think of beach money, you go additional money that you get to relax on the beach. Money coming into your bank account without you having to work every single day.
Yeah,
Um, that's beach money. You want to have assets. I mean, for me, I try to get assets, and limit my liabilities so that I do have beach money. That's
yeah,
beach money.
yeah. So you and your wife just bought a motel.
Yeah. We bought the Western Inn.
So let's say the Western Inn. Let's just use that as an example. So, and from my understanding, the way you bought it, it's something that anybody who's got a little bit of stability in their life could have put together a deal like this, wouldn't? Isn't that true?
Yeah, 100%. If you have a couple hundred grand stored away, you can do a deal like this.
And
Um,
what ultimately? Let's put beach money and a motel together. What would that look like from the beginning to the end?
well, it depends on how, uh, so I'm not a hands-off kind of operator. I like to get my hands dirty a little bit.
Yeah,
You know, I personally, my life is a beach. Like I look outside the window and I see a lake. My life is a beach, and I love working. So it's a hard thing for me. I can never stop working,
right.
but that's just who I am. If I wanted to today, take a vacation and not, I could buy this motel, invest a couple $100,000, and every single month I get, 18 to $20,000 in the bank. Boom, boom. And then you just duplicate that over and over again.
Yeah,
And so we have multiple different properties throughout, California, Arizona, Midwest. So we mainly buy shopping centers and medical buildings, and we're getting into the motel business. So the trick with that, for beach money, you have an asset that gives you money without you really having to be there.
yeah, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, and there's a lot. That's for a lot of people. Residential and commercial real estate as an investment is a pathway to beach money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Definitely. I mean, it's a great investment. The trick is to find the right deal. Not always the easiest thing because a lot of deals you sort of break even or you sometimes lose money. So it's all about finding that deal that cash flows positive.
yeah. So from the outside looking in, it looks like your life has been a massive success. I mean, you've built the life that you love. You're doing things that get you a lot of eyeballs on you through your magic, and you're building a real estate portfolio, and you're having fun, and you're raising a great family. I've got to believe there's been some challenges along the way. And
Yeah.
what are
Yes,
what are
there
some
have.
of the what are some of the challenges that you've experienced along the way? And then, let's talk a little bit about mindset in overcoming those challenges.
Yeah, I mean, there's challenges all the time, um, whether it's, for me, buying a real estate property, you gotta get a loan. I mean, I get loans. Not always that easy.
Right.
Sometimes it is, but not always. So you have to go through a process to get a loan. And sometimes you don't get the loan. I'm very lucky because I have a track record and I figured out how to get them. But doesn't at first it wasn't, and so little by little I learned how to do that. And then when you take on a property, you don't know what you're getting all the time. I mean, you buy a property, you have no idea really. You
Right.
know, well, the seller can tell you one thing, but at the end of the day, if you got to do your due diligence, and there's always surprises. So, for example, in this property we purchased, the seller was super cool. We're in a great relationship with her, but we didn't know buying it that there was a guy that was smoking for 15 years in one of the rooms, and we had no idea that he was going to leave. So, like about a month after we bought the property, he's gone. He left. He decided to move out. What does that mean? It means I got to spend 10 to 15 grand right away, maybe 20 to renovate it,
Right.
you know, and that's while I can afford it and do it, it goes out of the bottom line. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I didn't anticipate a $20,000, write a check right away.
Yeah.
No, but that's what
You
it's
thought you
okay.
were putting you thought you were putting 200,000 down. You didn't know you were putting 220,000 down.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's part of the game. You know what I mean? Like you got to roll with the punches. If you're not willing to roll with the punches, you can't do it. You
So
know.
rolling with the punches would be part of the part of the advice that you could give people.
Roll with the punches. Yeah, I should put it more eloquently than that, but it's sort of like you
Well,
know,
it's what it
you
is.
know, I love the way I make money is I solve problems. I'm a problem solver.
Yeah.
I don't care how a problem's going to arise. I know for a fact a problem will arise. It's how I deal with it that'll make the problem a good situation or a bad situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting. So, um, what else? Talk any other business advice that you can think of? I mean, you're a successful business person, somebody who's just getting started, or maybe somebody that has a job that
Yeah.
wants to call their own shots and have their own business. What advice would you give to someone like that that's it's trying to get started? Like,
I think, yeah, that's a good question. I really believe one of the main things is how you can help someone achieve their goals. So, one of the things that I learned myself, and I did this, no one taught me how to do it. I just did it naturally. I would go to someone that I wanted to know, I was impressed with, I learned that I thought I could maybe learn from them. And I would say, look, how can I help you? What is something that I can do to help you? So, for example, Amazing Jonathan. I showed up late night when he wanted to. I was exhausted. I had a whole day of working and stuff, and I helped him clean his warehouse. You
yeah,
know,
there you go.
uh, and that was it was learning for me, but also it was challenging for me. But I gave him what he needed. You know what I mean? So I think it's first as a younger person or someone that's starting out, someone that has a job. What can you do to uh, help them benefit from your actions?
Yeah.
you know, because it'll come back around. It always does. Someone's going to see that and go, wow, this person's great. How can I help them?
You know what's interesting?
You,
I don't know if you know this. I don't know that I've ever told you this, but my father, when he was alive, this was probably 15 years ago. Uh, he he wanted when he'd come to Vegas. A lot of times he'd want to see the Amazing Jonathan, and
no
so
way.
yeah, so he would take me, and so my introduction to the Amazing Jonathan was my father. I think he'd seen him on TV even. I think
Yeah.
was he ever on Johnny Carson?
He was on Johnny Carson many times. He was on
Yeah.
Comedy Central many times.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
my father saw him on Johnny Carson, and so when he come to Vegas, we would go see. And this was before I lived here. We'd meet up in Vegas once or
Wow.
twice a year, and we would go see Amazing Jonathan. So never knew that we had that connection. It was
Yeah.
probably at some point. It was probably around the same time. Were you working with him 15 years ago?
No, I was working with him. Well, actually, I was probably.
Yeah,
Maybe. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
possible. I saw you perform at some point. You know.
Yeah.
So
It's,
as we kind of as
yeah.
Seth, as we kind of wrap this up. What's the most magical moment of your career so far, either on stage or off stage?
Well, gosh, getting married. I know that sounds cliche, but getting married was my best move in my whole
I
life.
was testing you. I was hoping.
Yeah. Tammy, thank God for Tammy. I had a life of sort of just going and doing, and I loved my life before I was married, but I really saw value in Tammy, and she's champion. I mean, she just builds me up like crazy. When I'm having a bad day, she goes, Seth. She snaps me out of it. She's my life partner, and she's amazing with my kids.
Yeah.
So I'm a blessed guy.
And she was a successful entrepreneur in her own right before even meeting you.
Oh yeah, she was a big time boss with the magazine. Everyone respected her so much. She was impeccable with her word. It was funny. I started dating her, and all I wanted for a long time, not all I wanted, but I wanted this really bad was to be in her magazine because I was this magician, promoter, crazy nut, right? And she said, Seth, no, 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 it's not about you. It's about the my advertisers. She purposely did not put herself or myself in the limelight. She put the people that paid for advertising and were
Ah, yeah,
supporting her.
right.
So I learned that in a big way from her. I've learned so many good lessons from her continually.
That's a great way to wrap up that I think she would like.
Yeah. She was.
Any any closing thoughts, any ideas, anything you'd like to share with the audience? This is a Beach Money.
No,
And then also, how can people go ahead? How can people reach
yeah.
you as well? Yeah.
Listen, Jordan, I've known you for a long time. I respect you massively. I love Beach Money. I love what you do. I want to figure out a way that I can help you do anything you want. So you think about one way that I can help you succeed in life. Okay. I don't care what it is. I will do my best to make it happen.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
throwing
you.
that out there.
I appreciate that.
Um, yeah, I love what Beach Money stands for. It is phenomenal what you've created around yourself, and I really respect it. Big shout out to Bob and Betty Ann Golden because you guys put us in touch, and at the end of the day, we kind of are connectors. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And I really just appreciate having you in my life, man. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast. If you want to get a hold of me, Seth Grabel, that's SethGrabel. You can Google it, you'll get me.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much, Seth. Really appreciate you being a guest. And really enjoyed it. And thank you for having me on your podcast as well.
For sure,
All right.
bro.
Bye,
Talk to
everybody.
you later.